all are getting on this YouTube channel and, with lack of better terms, listening to all of our secrets. And the more the coaches listen to our secrets, guess what the secrets turn into? Facts, reality, truth. So we had a couple block charge situations, and the official said, you have to be set to take a charge, which is god awful, absolutely so false in basketball. All right, so now the coach is yelling at the official gives the coach a technical foul. And then the coach contacts me and says, Sean, I'm part of your YouTube channel. I'm listening to what you're listening. Why aren't your officials listening to what you're giving them? And my response is, I apologize, coach. I'll reach out to the official. All right, so this is made primarily first for the sports officials. But then just understand, just like our coaches are going to get this recording from this meeting tomorrow. So as you're working with new umpires or you see new umpires, just remind them, coaches have that ammo as well, and failure to prepare is preparing to fail. No further ado, I think we're live. I hope we're live. But here's our agenda today. We'll see if this works out. But we have a video. We have the rule. We're going to go back to the video. We're going to talk about the mechanics. And then we're going to go back to the video. And the very last time we go back to the video, I'm like, all right, everybody stand up and call it. All right, because we don't practice enough. All right, so we call this practice. And a coach will always say, all right, this is the drill. This is why we're doing the drill. All right, let's drill it. All right, so that's the whole intent of this on these topics. And as I talked those steps out, there are the steps. All right, so we are going to go back and forth a little bit here, but the first play is hit by pitch. Let's see if I can blow this up. Blowing it up. Sweet. All right, it's going to show us again. Here comes the coach. We'll talk about that. Boom. All right, so there's the play. So now let's talk about the rule. All right, so a hit by pitch is a legal pitch that touches the batter, and it is dead by rule, and the batter is awarded first base. That's hit by pitch. Now, if you think about that video, wait a minute. The umpire didn't award first base. Right? So now, a batter shall make an attempt to avoid the pitch hitting them. So now, in that umpire's judgment, did that batter attempt to make a move so that pitch ball did not hit them? No. All right. So now, Corey, in softball, so in baseball it says attempt to move. What's the softball terminology?
Softball does not require an attempt. Any ball hitting the batter, excuse me, any batter getting hit by a pitched ball, and this is another difference, legal or illegal. It is a dead ball, and then either ball or strike is awarded based on where it is. If they're in the batter, if it's in the box, of course, not a strike, they are awarded first base.
All right, so now I'm going to take it a step further on that idea of attempt. All right, think about when you are batting baseball and softball, and the ball is moving. Curveball, backdoor slider, whatever the case may be. Sometimes a batter may freeze. Freezing is an attempt, because what's that batter doing? Yeah, he's doing or she's doing nothing, because that ball in the past in this game has tailed back into the plate. All right, so a freezing motion can be judged as attempting to avoid getting hit by that pitch, because that batter still has to hang in there in case that ball does come back in over the plate, they could foul it off. All right, so a lot of coaches says, they didn't even move. They didn't make an attempt. Coach, that's an inside pitch. They are coached not to back away. And if they do this, what can we do now as umpires to judge that as? Yeah, rolling into the pitch. All right, so a freezing motion by philosophy in baseball, and I'm sure even in softball, you don't have to make an attempt. A freezing motion is an attempt not to be hit by the pitch. Okay? Tom.
On the softball side, the batter can't intentionally.
We're not, I mean, that's not part of this discussion yet.
Not yet. It's not part of the discussion yet. Okay? All right, so hit by pitch is a pitch that hits the batter. All right, so now if that pitch does not hit the batter, all right, now we have to, first step, was it a ball or was it a strike? All right, so this batter, as we go back to the video, you're going to see that batter goes towards the ball. All right, so now we definitely know it's not a hit by pitch because the pitch did not hit the batter. The batter actually hit the pitch. So now the next thing we have to decide, was the pitch a strike? Was the pitch a ball? I'm not sure. We're going to go back to the video one more time. Now, we're not going to act it out yet. So we got a little help from K-Zone. All right. So by K-Zone standards, is that pitch a strike?
No.
By youth baseball and softball standards, can you judge that to be a strike?
Yeah.
Yes, you can. All right, so Corey said the batter's box lines in softball. Federation, NCAA, it's the batter box line. If a pitch is in the batter's box line and the pitch hits the batter, no matter what movement that batter does, it's a hit by pitch. That's what we consider a bad pitch. But this pitch is in the river, like Corey was talking about. All right, so when we watch the replay, if in your judgment as an umpire, this pitch ball is in the river, all right, so his knee now is in the river, you can judge this to be a strike. All right. So we definitely know it's not a hit by pitch. Now we got to judge, is that a strike or ball? All right, so now we're going to go back to El Mechanics, because this is where umpires get in trouble. It's not your judgment that allows coaches to yell at you. It's our lack of communication and signals that coaches get upset about. All right, so if we don't call time, you stay here, 1 ball. Or time, you stay here, strike. All right, I made all those signals so everybody could see it. It's our body language and voice. You would agree that this is, I call this a 1% play. Right, 300 pitches in a game, maybe one time you have to make this judgment. So when you do, you got to go time, stay here, strike. You have to sell that. All right? So are you, as the audience, ready to sell it? All right, because here's what we're going to do. We are going to play the video. All right? And we are going to have you, umpires, do the mechanic and sell the mechanic when it happens.
One quick note on softball mechanics is dead ball, not time.
All right, so if you are here for softball, raising your hand, dead ball. If you're here for baseball, raise your hand, time, and sell the judgment. We didn't have anybody make a call here. Like you umpires, you are practicing right now. I showed you the drill. All right, he showed you the drill. You guys are now practicing it. All right, reboot. All right, we are now in our ground ball lines. Here we go. Oh, who went strike 3? Somebody loves outs here. All right, somebody loves outs here. But yes, there will be situations where it's a 1-2 count, 2-2 count. They do that. Boom, time. You're out. Right, and you have to sell that. Okay, so now stay standing, stay standing. I'm going to need a volunteer here. Right about now. What do we have to do as umpires? Why are you raising your hand? Yeah, why does he need to stay there? Not even that. This is ball strike. They cannot leave their position to argue or question a ball strike judgment. Hey, coach, we can't argue this. In my judgment, I have the batter hitting the ball. The ball was in the strike zone. Judgment is a strike. End of story. All right, you cannot allow this coach to come out and question or argue balls and strikes. This is balls and strike judgment call. So stop them as fast as you can. All right.
Go over to him. This is such an odd situation, and explain that.
If in between half innings, I will. Where the person I'm explaining it to is the player, the batter. I'm explaining to the batter right there in the moment, son, young lady, this is what I judge you doing. Out of fairness, I have to penalize you and not the pitcher. All right. So, all right, you guys can take a seat now until the next play. Sweet. All right. But again, it is more your communication, voice, and signal to show control and confidence over the situation. All right, because you may judge this as a ball. You may judge this as a strike. That is the judgment here. All right. But how you communicate that is going to get you through the situation. All right, we're going to. Absolutely not. Because if there's a 3-2 count and the pitch isn't swung at, are you going to go, Tom, did you have that in the strike zone? You would do that? Yes. No, a pitched ball. A pitched ball. You would go to your partner and ask them their judgment on a pitched ball? No, I'm not talking about a ball that hits the player. A pitched ball. Yeah, exactly. This is a pitched ball. We already know it's not a hit by pitch by rule. Can we ask our partner if the pitch hits the batter? Yes, we can. This is not hit by pitch by rule. That's the point of this video. This is not hit by pitch. This is either a ball or a strike by rule. Okay, so no, you are not asking your partner, is this a ball or strike? We already know it hit the batter. Now it's your judgment, ball or strike. Or did the pitch hit the batter inside the box? All right, we're going to come up to the next play here. What in the heck just happened there? I think we have another angle at it.
Batter runners out. Interference.
But he didn't even contact the fielder, guys. All right. So now we're going to get into the rule. Force play slide rule. I should have put that safety rule in green. I usually put safety rules in green. All right, so we're going to first talk baseball, and then Corey's going to talk about softball. So baseball, a runner being forced can do 3 things to avoid the umpire's judgment of runner's interference. Again, umpire's judgment. Number 1, they could legally slide. That is buttocks on the ground, sliding straight to and through the base. Or chest on the ground, sliding straight to and through the base. That is a legal slide. They could slide away from the fielder. So that fielder was towards the outfield grass. They could slide towards the infield part of the grass. So they're sliding away from the fielder. Or, this isn't a rule book term, this is sort of a Hunter Wendelstedt term, disappear. All right, so sometimes they duck. Sometimes they just peel off and run away. They just disappear out of that fielder's vision. If they don't do one of those three things, good luck, umpires. All right, you now are put in a judgment situation. All right. If they contact the defender, that's easy. All right. If they impede or hinder that fielder now, it is out. All right. I'm going to use an umpire as an example. Did you guys see him move a little bit? Yeah, he moved a little bit. Did I touch him? No, did your heartbeat just skip a beat? All right. It doesn't take much to impede and hinder a baseball or softball player. All right, so just because we don't always see it, that jolt of scare, like I'm about to get taken out, impede and hinder. Again, safety rule. When in doubt, your judgment should be illegal. This is forced play slide rule. Okay, so now the baseball penalty. That runner is out. Batter runner's out every single time. All right, no matter what. If you call force play slide rule, all right, I'm going, that's force play slide rule interference, time, you're out, you're out. Why do you think I'm keeping my eyes here? Yeah, there's going to be, if it is contact, that shortstop, that second baseman might retaliate. And if I'm watching it, I could prevent it, or I'm going to see how they retaliate. There's not going to be first baseman, batter, runner fighting each other. It's going to be this. All right? Now, very important, base umpires. That is your call. But now let's say the ball is already thrown. And now my base umpire is turning with the ball, and then they contact the fielder. Is it still forced play slide rule interference? Absolutely. Yes, it is. Now whose call is it? Plate umpire. All right, so plate umpire, you have to stay with that slider. You have to stay with that play. And man, if that home plate umpire calls it, you better come out of your boots. All right? Time. Force play slide rule. You're out. You're out. I'm probably at the pitcher's mound by this time calling that. Okay? So now let's talk about the softball penalty. The penalty for softball is different.
First, softball does not require a slide. Softball just requires that you avoid contact. A difference in that is slide is always interpreted as attempting to avoid contact, a legal slide, I should say. However, that gets you out of malicious contact. It does not necessarily prevent interference. You can still have a legal slide and have interference. The penalty, in the vast majority of cases like this, you're going to get the second out. When it's an obvious attempt to prevent a double play, you're going to get the batter runner at first. But if that runner going to second has been retired and it's not an obvious attempt, it looks goofy, by rule, they are a retired runner, and by softball rules, the runner closest to home is the out you're going to get.
All right. So now we're gonna watch the video again before we talk about mechanics, and after the mechanics, then we'll practice the mechanics.
What's the definition?
So definition of a legal slide is buttocks on the ground or chest on the ground, sliding straight to and through the base.
Happens if your foot is up high.
If your foot is up high, now they're at risk of malicious contact. So if they go with that spike up, and this is anytime, this is even forced play slide rule, but if they go with their spike up and they contact anything near the knee or above, automatic ejection. Automatic ejection.
Softball rule book is slightly different. Softball rule book defines a slide as either head first or feet first. If it's feet first, a leg and a buttock must be on the ground. And then they give 5 examples of illegal slides. First one in the list is that foot is higher than the knee of the defensive player standing. But there's 5 different things that they go to identify an illegal slide. All of them will result in that runner being out. And if they're already out, again, preventing the double play, you're going to get the second out in the double play. If it's something else goofier, you're going to get the one closest to home.
Jim, you had a question?
I can't do that. I'm trying to think through it. When you say through, I guess maybe I'm just thinking, I thought Federation said, maybe they said you can't slide beyond the base.
Federation, you cannot slide beyond the base. That's the only rule set you can't go beyond.
So I'm wondering, is there a difference between through and beyond?
100%. So again, we always start these rules with original baseball rules, USSSA softball, USSSA baseball. Federation is the only one you have to stop at or on the bag. You can't slide through the bag. You have to stop on or before the bag. Yep, high school rules. David?
Does the runner have that lane straight to the base no matter what?
Yes.
So he could actually contact the fielder, still be legal.
Yes, he can or she can, because now coaches, I'm going to go back here, because what coaches teach, see where this fielder is, right? Are fielders ever taught, hey, put your foot right on top of the bag?
No.
Absolutely not. They're like, clip the back side of the bag, clip the front side of the bag. Do not go straight over the bag, because now the fielder is at a disadvantage. Because yes, you are right, David. The runner has this lane. That is the runner's lane. It is the fielder who now has either side of the bag that they get to make their play, because they know they can't be in the middle of the bag. That's the runner's spot. Again, that's the safety rule. If everybody does what they're supposed to do, fielders are out of the way, runner slides right through the bag, everybody's happy and safe. All right, so mechanic here. All right, so this is this dead ball in softball. So dead ball in softball, time in baseball, pointing at the runner, out. Now he's pointing at the batter runner, out. All right, just a small thing. He probably turns away from this play because he probably knows there's no altercation. Remember, I will stay on this runner because they usually don't run off like this. But if you watch this Major League umpire, he probably turns because the altercation in his mind is no longer because the players are going to their dugout. All right, so you guys ready to practice it? All right, so you guys are all base umpires here. We have runner on first base, so we don't have to worry about the runner closest to home. All right, and we have one out.
You're out.
Perfect. And then usually coach is like, what just happened? Oh. All right. And the players will react accordingly. And what's amazing about this, let's say somebody does get hurt. Once we penalize, escalation doesn't happen. If we don't call it and somebody gets hurt, what happens on the field? Parents start yelling at each other, players start yelling at each other, coaches start yelling at each other, and I think it's phenomenal that the same result happened. A player got hurt. If we call it, nobody gets upset. If we don't call it, everybody gets really upset. All right, it's a beautiful justice system we have here in America, right? As long as we get the perp, we're good. All right, grab a seat. Good deal. Good job. When in doubt, It is force play slide rule. Crazy play I'm going to talk about before we go to the next play. If there is bases loaded, nobody out, all right, we are actually, in baseball, we return that runner to third base. We return the runner to second base. So in softball, they get the second out, so it'd be first and second with 2 outs. In baseball, it'd be second and third and 2 outs. So we just return the runners. And that's not even close. You know it's better if Major League Baseball calls it. That's not even the vicinity of the base. All right, this is a fun one. Oh, I love that, Jason. So guess what rules we're going to cover on this one? Obstruction and interference, all right? Beautiful judgment that this umpire has to make here. So let's talk about the rule first. All right, so Jason already said, which one are you going to protect? All right, when one fielder is fielding a batted ball, the runner cannot impede or confuse the fielder. All right, so we took a look at that play 3 times. You as a calling umpire, have in your mind, who are you protecting? Are you protecting the pitcher or are you protecting the first baseman? Because you could only protect one. Now, obstruction. So now you have 8 other fielders. Any defensive player not fielding a batted ball shall not impede or hinder the runner advancing to the base. All right, so one person you're going to protect for interference. The other person, you're going to protect the runner from obstruction. It is entirely up to the umpire to judge if the fielder is in the act of fielding a ball. If we judge this type 1 obstruction, so this is obstruction and the play is on that runner. So type 1. What is it called in softball?
Delayed dead ball.
All right. Every single time delayed dead ball?
Obstruction is always a delayed dead ball.
Okay.
Signals left-handed.
All right. So softball left hand extended. All right. Baseball, if it's type 1 on that runner, it is time. All right. You point to that runner and then you point to first base. Type 1, they always get the base they're going to. All right, so in this case, I'm pointing to first base. Point at other runners in advance if forced by the batter runner being awarded first base. So if there was a runner on first, we would say you first, you second. If there was a runner on second base, unfortunately, since it's type 1, they get second base. All right, they get second. If you're going to deem this, I went too far, interference, that's interference, time, or dead ball, and you point at the runner, signal out. Guess where all the runners have to go? Back. So now you're going to have to point those runners back to those bases. Okay? I don't think I showed the video enough to show this umpire's judgment, which is fine. Because there's going to be probably discussion on this umpire's judgment. And that's why we love this video. All right. No, it was a chopper. Okay. All right, so now we know the umpire's judgment is what? Obstruction. And we actually talked to this umpire about this play. All right, what is the base runner doing right now? Avoiding interference, correct? Remember, this runner's lane, that's a whole nother rule we're not going to talk about today. But you can run outside of the runner's lane to avoid interference. Now, another rule we have to also think about, a runner cannot change their route to force obstruction. Okay? So now in this umpire's judgment, he said, in his judgment, this runner chose to go inside to avoid the first baseman. So based on that runner's action, guess what fielder the umpire was protecting? First baseman. All right, so since he was guarding the first baseman, he hits the pitcher. What do we have on his judgment? Obstruction. All right, because now the A's coach is saying, but my pitcher tagged the runner. But the important thing in baseball, once obstruction occurs, what happens to the ball status? Time. All right? Time. All right? So that the ball became dead actually before the tag was applied. All right, so that was his judgment. Now in softball, if you deem this obstruction, you're going delayed dead ball, and then after the pitcher tags the runner.
The difference is, if you're protecting the first baseman in this case, softball would have an out. Got a catch with the glove, batter runner's tag. I've got an out and nothing beyond that. Even if we are protecting, if we have an obstruction on the pitcher, or rather the pitcher is the one that is, if we run into the pitcher and that's where the obstruction occurs, since there would have been an out, at that point, it is dead ball and you award first base. Basically, obstruction is delayed dead ball until either the person obstructed is put out or play stops. If they're put out before they get to the base that we think they should have, then it's dead ball and you award bases accordingly. But softball allows the offense to finish the play in the idea that they may go beyond where we thought they could have made it. They get that opportunity, always.
All right. So now another thing, if you're ever put in this situation, we want to use all input. What do you think the fielders are doing here? On the ball diamond, what do you think the fielders are doing here? Or what should they be doing here? You think they should be talking? You think one of them saying, I got it? You can use that to help in your judgment. So if you know the first baseman is calling off that pitcher, I got it, I got it, I got it, and that pitcher's actually slowing down, all right, it's easy to protect that first baseman. If you have the pitcher saying, I got it, I got it, I got it, all right, it's easier for you to protect that pitcher because those teammates are now communicating, all right, who is fielding that ball. All right. All right, so I'm interested in, there is no wrong judgment here, if you ask me. There is no wrong judgment. So we're going to replay it. I'm interested to see what our judgment here in this room. All right, so let's stand up. Remember, if you're going softball obstruction, you got to go delay dead ball. All right, if baseball, it's time right away obstruction, time right away interference.
Time!
All right. And I love that. And this is a 50-50 call. It truly, truly is. This is why it's so important. Whatever you judge, you have to be able to explain. All right, so who said interference? All right, come on down. Interference, come on down. Yep, right to the front so it's in the microphone. All right, so now you are I'm the Angels coach. Okay. So you just called my runner out. Right. And I'm going to be like, all right, my runner tried to avoid contact because the first baseman was going to field it. How did you get my runner out?
The runner out because he went inside the field of play, and at the last few steps, he moved right into the play and interfered with the.
But the first baseman was clearly going to field that batted ball.
Yes, I think he should have gone outside runner's lane to avoid the play.
All right. Did you hear what he said there? I think you gave a coach an opinion. You're not going to end that conversation. All right. What you want to do, whatever your opinion is, coach, in my judgment, the pitcher was fielding that ball. Your runner hit the pitcher. That is interference by rule. So by rule, I have to call you runner out. Because now, whose fault is it? The runner's fault. And by rule, I have to do this. It's not my judgment. It's not my opinion. The rule book tells me I have to do this. All right, so avoid opinion, I think. Don't coach my players. I'll coach my players. That's where it's going to go next. All right, who had obstruction? All right, come on down, JD. Now this goes with the video. So now the A's coach is my pitcher caught the batted ball in the act of fielding and touched the runner. Why is the runner getting first base?
Coach, in my judgment, the first baseman was the protected player. By rule, he gets the protection. The batter runner went out and hit the pitcher. The pitcher obstructed the batter. Batter runner gets first base.
Cool. Excellent. All right. So both ways, I think you could support this ruling. All right. Good job. Yes, sir. Brian.
So, if the pitcher isn't fielding the ball and the first baseman is a protected player, like the runner could have gone on the outside to avoid both of them, but inside the pitcher.
Nope. I mean, yes, if I as an umpire always got our way, let's choose the path of least resistance. Please go on the outside. Please go on the outside. Please go on the outside. But this is another rule. The runner could go where to avoid interference? Anywhere. So just so happened this runner chose to go on the inside. So he doesn't or she doesn't have to go to the spot where there is no other fielder. Yeah, that's a good point that was just said there. Let's say that runner chooses to go inside, chooses to go outside, but then that first baseman goes outside. Now we still have obstruction because we're probably going to be protecting the pitcher at that point.
At what point do you choose? You have to choose which one of those players to protect. Why can't you just wait? Yes.
Great question. And this is why I love baseball and the word time. Okay? Because type 1 obstruction and interference, we both do the same thing both times. We call time first. I have been in a situation where it was like a lazy pop-up. I have the pitcher, I have the catcher, and I have the first baseman. All converging where the runner is going, where the ball's going to land. And so I went, time, I got something. And what I did is I bought myself time. Because what I was really trying to process was, how are the defenders reacting here? I'm trying to think, did somebody say I got it? Is one fielder yelling at the other fielder? I am trying to figure out. And in that moment, they didn't do that for me. So I had to put myself as a coach and say, all right, which fielder would I had expected to catch that batted ball? Catcher was out. They have the last priority. Baseball coaches, softball coaches, who has priority? Pitcher, first baseman. That's who I protected. I protected the first baseman just based on coaching theory. First baseman has priority over pitcher. All right? And I think that's exactly what happened here. Priority, we're going to give it to the first baseman over the pitcher. So there's no set time. In softball, would you be able to go this and change it to interference after talking with your partner?
Yes.
Okay.
That is something that could come out of a discussion.
All right. So, and this is the play, by the way. To avoid huge eruption, you have your judgment. If you have an unreasonable coach at this moment, hey, coach, here's what I'm going to do for you. When you get back to the dugout, I'm going to go to my partner and have that conversation with my partner to see if they have any additional information for me. But you got to understand, once we're done talking, we're going to make our final judgment. You cannot come back out of the dugout. How awesome is that trick? Because we're working with the coach, working together, and by rule, we can't work together until they go where? In the dugout. And once we have our judgment, by rule, what can they not do? Come back out of the dugout. All right, so they gave their 2 cents. Yep, you have a point there, coach. Go back to the dugout. I'm going to bring all the information to my partner and see if we have to get the call right and switch the call. Okay?
I
So-
will caution you on discussing for softball umpires. I will caution you because if you do get with your partner, you had a delayed dead ball, the play finished, and your partner convinces you that it was interference. First question is going to be, well, why didn't someone say dead ball? That's going to be the first question. So you can discuss it. Goal is to get it right. You just may have a bit more to explain when the time comes.
You do have a field umpire. Is that behind the plate call, or is that the field? This one here, the plate umpire makes the call. What about the first one?
Yeah, so I'll talk about baseball mechanics first. In baseball, anything between home plate and before the ball gets to first base, or home plate before the ball gets to third base, it's going to be the home plate umpire's judgment, initial judgment. Now, if that ball is out, let's say there's a runner at first base, and you have shortstop, second baseman, and R1 all advancing to second base at the same time, and now you have those 3 players, now I'm going to give that to the base umpire. Same thing, would that be the same between home and first?
Slightly different mechanic. If the base umpire is in A position behind first base or B position, the mechanic is the the plate umpire has tags to the running lane in the first half. The base umpire has tags in the second half. So I mean, right there, it's right at the cutoff. It's anybody's call at that point. If the base umpire is in C, that goes a little further. This is one of the things that should be discussed between you and your partner at your pregame.
I love this one. Yes, sir.
One thing I wanted to say on that, I would have called interference on that. Say you're coaching your son, could have been right there with the rule, and I would have told you, yes, protect a fielder. That's the way the rule is written. When they're standing there together, both making a play. I think that's a great comment about they should be talking.
Mm-hmm.
There might be times that's what they're using the coaches. I would say, I'm sorry, Sean, they're right there, both making a play. I'm going to call that one.
Yeah.
I just have to stick with that. I really do.
I don't think you misspeak the rule. I think you just tell the coach, I was protecting the pitcher. That's interference. I was protecting the pitcher.
Just do it that way.
Just do it that way. Yep. Because if you do it the other way, you might get an appeal.
That's right. Then you'd have, okay, yeah.
And now my team's up 1-0, and there's only 5 minutes left in the game time. And I'm going to burn this 5 minutes for you to go appeal it.
So they're standing on top of each other. I'm protecting both of them, but I'm just going to tell the coach that one.
Yep, absolutely, 100%, absolutely. Any Boston Red Sox fans in here? You might recognize this play.
Actually, Sean, Craig.
Craig, go for it.
Throwing this out there. You got a batter runner inside the base. Which I know is you got 2 fielders inside the base. The batter runner runs into the person with the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Could you just have that as an out and still a live ball? Because there's no contact with the first baseman. It doesn't. I mean, I don't know. I can see it if he ran and got bumped by the first baseman, then he went over and tagged him, yeah, you got obstruction.
So
It almost feels like he didn't really seem like he was avoiding anything and ran to the guy with the ball. Is that just a tag?
let's change the play here. Let's say there's a runner on third base. Pitcher's coming up to field it. Pitcher's going to tag him because you're protecting the fielder. Pitcher's going to tag him, then all of a sudden he's got to throw it home. Does this contact impede and hinder him to make that throw to home?
Oh, yeah.
That's interference. You're out. Since he's now not able to make a clean play at home to retire the runner that was at third base, we got to return him to third base. So that's why you would have to call interference there. And you could, that's not an obvious attempt to break up a double play. The runner was just chose the wrong way. All right. So beautiful Red Sox fans. All right, so first off, this is a judgment here, okay? Second judgment here. Third judgment here. By the way, take a look at the situation. 4-4, bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, World Series. Okay? So now we saw the play. Let's talk about the rule. All right? So now we're going to talk about type 2 obstruction. All right? We're in softball. It's all obstruction and it's delayed. So type 2 obstruction, while pointing at the fielder, that's mechanic. That's not the rule. Awesome. I don't have obstruction type 2 in here. Sweet. Well, you get to hear it now instead of see it. Type 2 obstruction is a fielder impedes, hinders the runner, all right, while the play is not being made on them. All right, so the thrown ball from the catcher, left field. All right, and then the third baseman is laying on the ground and impedes and hinders that runner advancing a home plate. By rule, had obstruction not occurred, so that third baseman was not laying there, that third baseman disappeared. Had third baseman not been there, would that runner have been able to get up and score? All right, so that's the judgment. All right, and we teach umpires, err on the side of like conservative. So if it's a close play at the base, yes, they were going to be safe. If they're out by 10 feet, now had that obstruction occurred or not, you can't just have a coach, hey, keep running, because they obstructed you at first base. Keep running until they get you out. No, you're only protected to the base you as an umpire thought they would have gotten to had obstruction not occurred. All right? So now going back to, we're going to go back to the video, but let's talk about the mechanic. So in baseball, we point, that's obstruction. Softball, left arm out, that's obstruction. Since it's type 2 in baseball, in softball, you always keep it live until there's a put out or the play is over. You let everything continue. We call it as we should. All right, so we have a play at home. The umpire chooses not to signal out. Why do you think the umpires decided not to signal out at home? Yep, so we already had obstruction, and all he wanted to do was time and go now award obstruction. Okay? What is awesome about this play, all right, I think there's 6 umpires on this game. Yep, there's 6 umpires on this game, so now end show. We're going to go back here a little bit. All right, so there is the second out. Got a tag. The ball is now away from the runner. So now we know we don't have a type 1 obstruction. You have this umpire follow the baseball. All right, now you have this umpire staying with the baseball. I can't emphasize this enough. When you're out there with 2 umpires, or even if you're by yourself, the ball will do what it's supposed to do eventually. If you have 2 players, tangle, untangle, keep your eyes on those players because that action is going to end really, really quick. All right, so you're going to actually see this third base umpire get their eyes back there. But now if this was out there with 2-person, if I'm the plate umpire, I'm probably staying with this action with the players. If I'm the base umpire, I'm definitely staying with the players. Definitely, definitely. All right, so now we have this point. That's the mechanic. Softball will be left arm out. Let it all play out. All right. That was the mistake. All right. Because guess what? Everybody in the stadium thinks he called him safe. All right. If you are going to truly call it out, then time. If I were in that situation, I would just call time right away. All right. So now we have time. Why is he pointing there? Yeah, he's actually pointing. That's obstruction. All right. If you are ever pointing at your partner, what do you have? All right. On a play like this, we should be actually talking to each other. All right. The only time we should ask our partner, what do we have, is on check swing. Even pulled foot swipe tag, get together. All right. But this is a point as in he is pointing obstruction. He is now administering it by mechanic. And then they award home, and one team's happy, one team's sad. All right, so if you're a lip reader, it's pretty good. All right, you guys ready to act it out? All right. So softball, make sure you go delayed. Baseball, make sure we just point it out, yell obstruction. Here we go.
Obstruction.
Time!
That's obstruction. You. Oh.
Perfect.
The only difference, again, softball, the mechanics, dead ball.
Yep. So if you're softball, dead ball. Baseball, time. All right. Now I'm going to go back because I think some of us called the obstruction too soon. I know it's in slow motion.
You wouldn't call out before all time, the end of the play?
Nope. Mm-mm.
How do you know that base umpire called obstruction? I mean, you may not hear it.
So two things. I see him pointing, so I know. Let's say this base umpire is not even out there. I'm by myself. You saw the plate umpire in that in the last angle. He actually calls it as well. Oh, he loses them. Because I know the plate umpire has the same thing when he does that. When he points, that is the signal for obstruction. So he had the same exact call. Whenever we point, that's obstruction. That is the judgment. So both of them had obstruction. Both of them did.
My thought here. Up there. See how far he's inside the bag?
Mm-hmm.
Fielder has to.
So when the fielder is not in the act of fielding a batted ball or thrown ball, guess what they have to do? Disappear. So this is the coaching thing, and we did it today in practice, and I almost grew another 20 gray hairs. What I'm not going to say to a coach ever, but this is what I want to say to a coach. Coach, your players got to learn how to play catch. I'm never going to say that to a coach. But remember, if they just caught the ball, we don't have any situation here whatsoever. The defense put themselves in this position by not playing catch. And so now take that all out. Coach, when that ball went by your fielder, they're no longer in the act of fielding a batted ball or thrown ball. I have to protect the runner, and it is clear that your third baseman impeded and hindered that runner getting up and advancing towards home. And had that obstruction not occurred, he would have clearly been safe because it was a close play at home. Yes. Yes. Yeah, so let's say the catcher has the ball right now. Like the catcher now has the ball. I mean, there's 20 feet away. Now, had that obstruction not occurred, he wouldn't have got home anyways. That shortstop was backing up the throw. The shortstop was right there, and that shortstop would have thrown him out regardless. Now we could call him out. Yep. That is different in type 1 obstruction, by the way. This is type 2 obstruction. So there's no automatic award for type 2 obstruction. It's they get the base they would had acquired had obstruction not occurred.
So if he hits him and he decides, oh crap, I tripped, I'm not going to make it, decides not to go, stays at third. You have anything there?
Yep.
Because in softball, and I think it's the same in baseball. Here's
Yep.
the distinction. In softball, by rule, the umpire's judgment occurs at the time of the obstruction. And at that point is when they should, in their head, have some idea of how far they can make it. Typically, in something like this, where it's always just between the two bases, you're basically going to base it just as Sean had said. If the ball clearly beats that runner, then we're going to call him out. But the thing is, if in your judgment they had no business going home, you're going to make the signal. Because now they are protected going back to third. They are not protected coming home, but they are protected going back to third.
Sean, would you say in that situation where you've announced obstruction, and now the runner gets greedy, and your decision is no, he wouldn't have made it. Do you say anything other than out? Do you say anything about out, obstruction doesn't matter, or do you just save that?
No, I would save it. So now let's say I was protecting the runner to third base and third base only. That runner tried to get greedy, and he is out by 20 feet at home plate. I am just signaling out. Half inning over, we're going to the 10th inning. And now if the coach comes out, the offensive coach comes out, Sean, you pointed obstruction, you stated obstruction. That's where now I'm going to explain to the coach, Coach, there was obstruction, but in my judgment, I was only going to protect that runner to third base and not home plate. JD?
I want to make sure I heard that right. If the runner would have been out clearly, made it halfway, decided, oh, no, I got to go back. He gets into a rundown or something. Even in that case, still protected to
Third base. Yep. Yep.
One thing I did notice kind of when they get tripped up at a base, let's say, and they decide, I can't go any further, and then turn around and the coach is yelling at them, no, you need to go. Like as soon as they turn around, is their protection base?
So I think Corey said it the best. Once that obstruction occurs, and now you know the status of the ball, your judgment should be right there of where you're going to protect that runner. You're going to protect him to home, or you're going to protect him back to third. You can't change the protection based on, let's say you were going to protect him to third, and then all of a sudden the ball gets by the shortstop who's backing up. Now the left fielder throws him out at home plate. I was only still going to protect them to third base because the shortstop was right there backing up that throw. It was the shortstop who erred, and the obstruction happened before the shortstop erred. Well, that'd be a crazy play.
So that gets into it. You just
Mm-hmm. Yep, let it play out, because if they do overthrow it, now they could score. Yeah. Okay. In my judgment, he touched the plate. Yeah.
As all awarded bases must do, they must touch those awarded bases.
But if he misses, well, he didn't miss the play. Never mind. I'm not even saying it. You know exactly what I was, but the expression wasn't at home. So, all right. I think there's one more play. No, there's a couple more plays. Okay. He's out. What in the world happened here? Call it. All right. You guys ready to call it? You guys don't have to stand up. We've already covered it. You guys, here we go. Oh, you'll see it here. Base is loaded. Nobody out.
Good ball.
You're out. You out. You out.
Softball. Where's the second out at? Guy at third base.
Well,
Or,
if it's an obvious if it's an obvious attempt at a double play, everybody's going to go back. You're going to get the one at first.
oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay.
If it's prevent an obvious double play.
Okay.
You're going to get the runner that they would get. But when goofy things start happening, everybody goes back and you get the one closest to home at that point.
All right. So this is an obvious attempt to break up a double play at second and at first. But notice how when we first watched it, nobody in this room saw it, did you?
Camera pans
All right.
too quick.
The camera pans too quick. Very important training. Umpires, base umpires, you can't pan too quick. Home plate umpires, you should never pan when you have this type of slide going on. We can't miss a safety one. It's okay to miss a pulled foot swipe tag. All right, we cannot miss illegal slides. We can miss pulled foot swipe. Hey, coach, if they had pulled foot swipe tag, I was so focused on that safety play at second base. If we missed it, that's why we missed it. I apologize. And then you just move on. All right. This is the example where you put the runners back. And we got second and third, 2 outs. Do not go to the game changer person and ask for a replay. There's a little bit better angle here. Whoop, whoop. All right. Did the fielder disappear? Nope. Had that obstruction not occurred, would this runner had gotten to third base?
Yes.
All right. So then you give him third base. Now the next question is this. Now, okay, we're going to come to that. All right. We have a batter runner here, correct? I'm going to play this out one more time because this is what you do have to consider when this play is all going. All right, fly ball to right field, fielded by the right fielder. Who was he throwing that ball to? Second baseman. He was throwing it to the second baseman. Let's say that right fielder came up and it's Ichiro Suzuki's arm. And they fired it to third base. And it was a beeline, one hop or right in the air. Yeah, you would have an out. But he threw it to the second baseman. So that right fielder was playing what? Yeah, we're going to give R1 third base. I don't even know what the score is, 2-0. We're keeping the runner off 2. So where are we putting the batter runner? First base. All right, so that type of baseball IQ you can use. Because that coach would come out, Sean, he wasn't even near third base when we tagged him out. He didn't even attempt to go to third base. I'm going to say, in my judgment, when that obstruction occurred, your right fielder was keeping the batter runner off of second base. That runner was going to get to third base because no play was being made on that third baseman at the time that right fielder threw it, at the time that obstruction occurred. And oh, all right. So
Because it looks like he's holding his arm as he's walking towards third. Or maybe he's just tucking a glove.
Which isn't necessary for running.
Right.
mhm. So the other question is, does the runner seek obstruction here? See, I don't think he was seeking obstruction because where was the runner's eyes the whole time? On the ball. All right, so I don't think the runner was seeking obstruction here.
Let's say the outfielder throws through. This is the cut, throws through. You say, hey, he wouldn't have made it to third. He's out.
Mhm.
But the trail runner probably makes it second. Giving the trail runner second.
No, because we're
Not giving it to them. They
yeah,
have to earn that.
yeah,
There's
I'm
no obstruction on them.
Oh, okay.
yeah, yep. And that's another reason to keep it live.
Yeah.
Boom, out at third because that cool. Whew, we're gonna get that runner too. Any Kansas City Royals fans? Okay. Bam, man, look at that. Wow. Awesome. Why in the heck is he doing that? All right. So now let's go to the rule. Yep. Of illegal bat. All right. Does not meet the USSSA NFHS guidelines. It could be cracked. It could be flattened. It could be rolled. It could be tampered. Okay. Pine tar, this is the video. Pine tar above the 18-inch line of demarcation is an illegal bat. Right, illegal bat. Mechanics. Usually, I'm never looking for an illegal bat. Ever. The other team brings it to me. All right, I'm going to inspect the bat. Yes, this bat is illegal. All right, it's flat on one side. All right, or it doesn't have a USSSA logo. Does not have a NFHS logo. Now, if it's cracked, do you think I could enforce this rule? No, because I don't know if it was cracked because how it was just last used. Okay. Remove the bat from the dugout. If for baseball, that batter is out. And you return all runners to the base they were at prior to that bat being used. All right, so let's say there was a runner on first base, wild pitch, they get to second. Steal, they get to third. Now the count is 2-0. That's an illegal bat, Sean. Sweet. That batter is out. Where does that runner stay? Stays at third base. Because that runner did not advance because of the bat. They advanced because of the wild pitch and they stole. Okay? USSSA, in baseball, second illegal bat. Now out, coach is ejected. The first offense, only the batter is out. The second offense, batter is out. And now the coach is ejected. Softball.
First in softball, and I think baseball is the same. This is not an appeal play. If you, as the umpire, notice this illegal bat brought into the box, you may enforce it at that time. But illegal bat brought into the box or otherwise indicated to the umpire and discovered it is truly illegal, it is a dead ball, everyone would go back if there was action, save something that occurred during a pitch. But any result of the action of a hitter hitting it with the illegal bat would be reset. The batter is not only out, but they are restricted to the dugout, and the coach is ejected from the get-go. There is no second time the coach is ejected. They are ejected on the first occurrence, and then anybody acting as a coach in the second occurrence gets ejected for that too.
So illegal bats are really, really big. Why do players, after they get ejected, why are they restricted to the dugout? Anyone know why the players are allowed to stay in the dugout? All right, safety, supervision. You can't just tell a kid, you don't know how they got there, how they're getting home. They have to remain with the team. Where a coach is an adult. They don't have to be supervised. All right? Out of sight, out of mind, they have to leave the premise. Brian, and then we'll go back there to Josh. Oh, Adam. Sorry, Adam.
Yeah. So are BB core bats illegal in USSSA?
Nope. So the question was, are BB core bats illegal in USSSA? They can be BB core. They have to have the USSSA logo. All right. Am I saying that wrong? Coaches out there? Because a lot of them now have BB core or BESR, isn't it? BSER, and then the USSSA logo. Beasts are illegal in baseball? So BB core is good for high school? Okay, BB core is good for high school. And UTRIP? Okay, sweet. Yeah. So that, and that, I'm going to show everybody where we have the USSSA rules already up. I'm going to show you how to get to them. I always tell umpires, have it downloaded on your phone. So if there is an appeal, you could go to your car to get your phone, and it's boom, it's on your phone already. Josh. As in, yes, the kids have to remain with their team. All right. Now, if their mom or dad comes up and takes them home, that's their prerogative. But we as umpires cannot force kids out of sight and sound. They have to remain under supervision. Yep. Nope. So that illegal bat must be brought to our attention as soon as it's used. Let's say two batters used it, it never was brought to our attention because they got 2 outs, so maybe they are waiting for the number 3 hitter to hit. Now the number 3 hitter hits and gets a base hit. Now I bring it to the umpire's attention. That's when we'll enforce it. So we enforce it from when it is brought to our attention. So chipped paint, by rule, it's altered. So we tell baseball players, like, don't hit your cleats because it does alter it. Now, I hope there's not a coach that puts you in that box because that's pretty nitty-gritty stuff. When it comes to high school and below, I don't think it's going to change the exit velocity too much and rotation of the ball. At the next level, it absolutely does change the exit velocity. So they have their game bats, and then they have practice bats. Yeah, so I don't know, from an umpire standpoint, I'm not going to be looking for it, but maybe return that bat because it hopefully has a 1-year warranty. Yes. So the question is, do we address that at the plate meeting? Yes. That's the important, at the plate meeting, are all players legally equipped? Yes, they are. Sweet. Yep. Now, I'm not going and checking all their helmets. I'm not going and checking all their bats. It is, coach, because you are the one that's going to be ejected here, is all of your equipment legal? Yes. Yes, it is. Awesome. Yep. Yep. That covers bats, helmets. All right, so we're inspecting the bat. The pine tar is above 18 inches. And the fun begins. Yeah. All right, so now really important, it was a home run, right? So what must we do with that other runner? We got to put him back. All right, so now we're going to go to the next one. Not this one. Not this one. Sean Johnston, double play, malicious contact. Dang it. There it is. So here's the play. So we have a runner on first base, and we have a runner stealing. We have a pitch in the dirt. Catcher stops it. Batter steps on the ball. Catcher picks up the ball. All right, so that's what it looks like from the umpire's point of view. Yeah. All right, so now loose ball contacts the batter. The rule: batter intentionally deflects the ball, the batter is out for interference. If contact is unintentional, ball is live and remains in play. So we saw the video. All right. What is going to be our judgment here? So pitch ball, dirt, hits the batter right now. All right, so now what do we have to do? So our judgment is nothing, but what do we have to do to let everybody know what our judgment is? And that's what it is. Got nothing? All right, got nothing. Anything different?
Softball does not require intent. In this particular case, the batter is allowed to stay in the box. If they make any motion that impedes the catcher or hinders the catcher from making a play, that is interference. Ball's dead, batter's out. But intent does not matter in softball.
The rule with regards to what the batter must do when a runner is trying to steal third, even if he or she is trying to get out of the way, if they obstruct the catcher, they're still going to be out.
They are going to be out.
With that being true, why does this have a different outcome? Why don't we say, because in that situation, we're taught if the batter moves, even if he or she moves in an intent to get out of the way, it's still interference.
So
This batter took 2 steps backwards.
So the question is, the batter is moving and not remaining in the box. Let's only watch the catcher here. Forget about the batter. Let's watch the catcher. Did the catcher ever try to make a play at home plate? Did that catcher come up blazing, wanting to get that ball, wanting to throw that out at second base? So to answer your question, Jason, if that was a steal at third, because that catcher was not trying to make a play, I'm not going to call interference on the batter. So in the intent part, the softball, where intent does not have to happen, you could judge, well, this catcher wasn't trying to make a play. She accepted the fact that the ball was in the dirt, she blocked the ball, and she was not going to throw that runner out at second base. All right. But now in baseball, let's say that batter Like, oh, that's where the ball is? Whoop. Time, that's interference. That was intentional. You're out.
It doesn't matter if she's out of box. But so on this ball, did he make the ball?
In my judgment, he doesn't have a right call.
Okay, that's what.
Because if you see the catcher
From what
making
you
the
said,
move
that's what I
and you
wanted.
see her hesitate just before she goes to reach for the ball.
All right. So the question was, did this umpire make the right call? It all depends on your judgment. In your judgment in softball, if you think this impeded or hindered that catcher from making a play, you have interference. In your judgment, that catcher was not making a play, so therefore did not hinder and impede the play, we got nothing. Coaches, the coaches that watch this, what should we teach the batters to do? Stand still. Don't move. Don't do anything. Because if the batter does nothing, then we as umpires don't have to make a judgment. All right, so now the batter was in the way. The batter didn't move, coach. We want the batters to move 0. If the batter moves 0, that defense could always go around a stationary object. So hopefully coaches sink that in a little bit. Yep. Batters don't move, we're all good. We don't have to worry about this rule.
Well, Sean, sorry.
Yep.
Well, you got a loose ball and a runner taking another base, and the umpire still has his mask on. Kind of relaxed while there's action going on, not really.
Well, I'm going to give the umpire a little credit here. He's got a GoPro on, so I bet you he's instructed to keep the mask on. But yes, if you're not doing this for education training purposes, once that ball is loose and on the ground, boom, rip that mask off as fast as you can. Yeah. Yeah, but he does have a GoPro on, so he was probably instructed, hey, this whole game, leave your mask on.
So, baseball, batter steps back, catcher's clearly going out to make a play, and the batter unintentionally kicks the ball instead of knocks it back. How do we
Yep, because we impeded and hindered the catcher.
That's why it's like, it doesn't matter what his intent is, if I think it impedes the play,
Mhm.
I got it.
Yep.
What do you do with the runner?
So you would send that runner back. So just like if I swing and step across home plate, boom, batter's out, send the runner back. Unless there's 2 outs, or 2 strikes, then the batter's out on strike 3. We have to still get an out for interference, then that runner would be out. Is that the same in softball on a strike 3 batter interference? Okay, I want to make sure I go to the next. All right. 2 players occupying a base. Let's take a look at the play first. This is, by the way, this is not a catch. This is a hit the dirt scoop. This is not a catch. All right, so everyone see what happened there? Everyone see what happened there? And then everybody see the third act. All right, so now let's take a look at the rule. A player has the right to a bag once they advance or touch the bag. So how many players have a right to a bag? 1. A player. A. 1 runner is entitled to the bag until they are put out or forced to vacate. So now the batter runner hits a line drive that hits the dirt. What now does R1 have to do? They are forced to vacate. When 2 runners occupy the bag, because R1 did not vacate, what did R1 do? He went back, right? So that was 1 runner occupying the bag, and now you have the batter runner occupying the bag because that is the batter runner's bag. So we have 2 runners occupying the bag. The preceding runner is entitled to the bag. Runner in front, except when forced out. The following runner shall be out. The runner behind shall be out, except forced. So people get this rule confused because a lot of times it's 2 tag plays. This is a force out play. All right, so now going back to the video, since we know the rule, where is the, go back. We don't have to watch the whole thing again, do we? Or could I just refresh? Refresh. No catch. All right, so we have 2 players occupying the bag. What does the fielder do first? That's the judgment. This is the huge judgment here. We're going to see it one more time. What does the first baseman do first? He touches the bag first. So who's out right now? Batter runner's out. How many players are occupying the bag right now? 1. Okay. So now the result of this play is you, who am I pointing at? Batter runner, out. You, who am I pointing at? Safe. Right. Now let's say the first baseman knows the rule and tags the R1 out first and then tags first base. Now what's our mechanic? You, out. You, out. Okay? So very, very, very important to process what those players did and be very clear on who's out and who's safe, because now the coach is going to come out. My runner is on the base, and the base is glue. It is safe. My runner is on the base. They can't be out. Well, coach, only 1 runner has a right to that base. R1, who is on the base, is forced to vacate. They tagged R1, so that base, he's only safe at second base. That's his safe base. You would have to explain that to the coach. Any difference in softball there? All right, commonality. Love it. Collision. I think it shows it one more time. Yep. All right. So what's kind of cool, whenever we do our on-field training, this one always comes up. Collision play rule. There's 4 scenarios we have to umpire. Okay, and if you break it down to these 4 scenarios, it kind of helps us out. Scenario number 1, catcher blocking the plate without the ball. Runner attempts to avoid contact. Does this runner attempt to avoid contact? All right, so let's just skip that one for right now. Catcher blocking the plate without the ball, and a runner does not avoid contact. Is that what happened on this play? All right, so let's start with this one. So interference is the call. If malicious, now we have an ejection. All right, because when a runner does not attempt to avoid contact, doesn't mean they have to avoid contact. If they don't attempt to avoid contact, that interference will supersede obstruction. All right, and the purpose is just because a catcher is illegal doesn't give them the right just to blow them up. All right, it's just that the catcher is illegal. They're standing over home plate. Now that runner is protected to home as long as they do everything legal. Right, so it's not a free shot. All right, so time, runner is out. All other runners go back to the base they were at the time of interference. So that's very, very hard to do as a plate umpire, because do you have any idea where those runners are? Plate umpires, hopefully, what are you looking at? you're helping your partner. You're watching the play at the plate. So when in doubt, those runners did not advance to the next base at that. So I'll revert back to the time of throw, right, wrong, or indifferent. Where were the runners at the time of throw? Because that's the last time I saw them where they were at. Okay, so now when we go in, we're going to have the video come up, mechanics, and we're only going to concentrate on this second one. All right, so we have the collision. Is it dead ball for softball, time for baseball? I'm going to point at the runner, you out. Now, if your judgment is malicious, now what signal do you have to do? Eject. Okay, malicious contact, eject. All right, so let's pull up the video and practice this collision play. Stand up, here we go. Perfect. Which way is this umpire walking right now? I just didn't want him to. Yeah, he's walking towards the dugout in which the player is going. When you have this type of ejection, where do you think you should go as the ejecting umpire? First base side, absolutely. So we're going to pause it right here. Look at the third base coach. What do you think he's saying right now in his head? He's blocking the plate. And then now you're going to come out, time, your runner is out, and your runner is ejected. I am walking away from that coach. Because where do we want that coach to go before I talk to them? Not in the field. Foul line. All right, so I am walking away from the spot I want that coach to go. Because when that coach starts coming towards me, I'm going to say, Coach, stop at the fair foul line. I will come meet you. I will meet you there. Give them time and distance. All right, if you walk towards the offended dugout, the offended fans, the offended coach, you are going into enemy's territory. All right, and there's going to be a lot of people all on you really, really quick. Whereas if you go to the other side of the field, that's friendly territory, right? Everything just went their way. All right, so understand that time and distance when you have that ejection. All right, but yes, go ahead, you can grab a seat. Is the catcher blocking home plate? Absolutely. But it does not give the runner the right just to blow him up. So now let's talk about the other part. If this runner just tries to slow down and like coil themselves so they don't slide, they're just bracing this contact. As I always put it, they're in a car, they're slamming on the brakes. Is that enough to attempt to avoid contact? Yes. And if that runner does that, now guess what the call is? Softball, left arm obstruction. Baseball, since the play is being made on that runner, time, that's obstruction, you score. Right? It's attempt to avoid contact. It's not avoid contact, it's attempt. So that's what the safe runners, please always slide. That's the easy one. Now, if they just coil, slam on the brakes, try to slow down, try to deviate, that's an attempt to avoid contact. Tom? No, the catcher does not have the ball. Does not. Okay? Now, the other play. This is a good throw. This is a good throw. Let's say it's a bad throw. And this catcher is running up this third base line. And the runner is running as hard as they can. And they're not looking up and looking at the catcher. Explosion. Now what do we got? Half of us are saying interference. 1/2 of us are saying obstruction. Catcher is doing what they're supposed to do. Is the runner doing what they're supposed to do? So if both players are doing what they're supposed to do, guess what the call is? Nothing.
Is the runner really doing what he's supposed to do?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm running towards home. I have because by rule, that runner has a clear path towards home. Now that catcher's coming up into my path. It's not the runner's responsibility now to avoid that contact because he's got or she's got that path to home plate. It is that whoever threw the ball forced this catcher to do their job to catch the ball, and that runner's still legal. Now, notice the very first situation I said the head down running. Has anyone seen a football player with their head up? I call it the safety. And they're not looking at the ball, and they're looking at the player, and they launch and contact that player. If in your judgment, that runner's looking up at that catcher and just licks their lip, oh, this is going to be awesome. And you know that runner hit that catcher on purpose, was that runner doing what they were supposed to be doing? No, now that would go back to malicious contact. All right, so think about malicious. Malicious is I know what's going to happen, and instead of doing what's safe, I am still going to I'm doing what I'm doing on purpose to hit this catcher.
In this scenario, softball is slightly different. The onus is on the defense, regardless of where the ball is thrown, to be out of the way of the runners. So if that ball does take them up the line and they find themselves in the way, they better have the ball when contact occurs or it's going to be obstruction.
Cool. So softball, bad throw, obstruction on the defense.
Because their mistake got them there.
Mm-hmm. All right, what we're going to do is I'm going to go over the rule here, then we'll get into the video. 640. Catch. Okay, player secures possession of the ball in hand or glove while the ball is in flight. The fielder shall hold the ball long enough to prove they have complete control, and the release of the ball was intentional or voluntary. So I did bring, that's why I brought this here today. So hand, glove, control, release. Is this release? Gonna show it again. Yeah, I'm tossing it to myself. I don't know why outfielders do this, but they do. They catch it, they flip it to themselves. All right? If they intentionally flip it to themselves, that's a catch. Is this a catch? All right. Now is it a catch? Yes. So I can lodge it, not a catch yet, but once I pull it out, now it is a catch because the ball has not hit the ground. This is still in flight. Now it's a catch. Same thing with the legs. You know, the first baseman. Whoop. Now it's a catch. All right, so a lodged ball is not a catch until they pull it out and control it. All right, let's take a look at some catch videos. Then we're going to go to with those cameras. Moving it. All right? Our eyes are cameras. So if we're moving, cameras are moving, we can't see it clearly. It's blurry. We think we see it clearly, but it's not. So get set. Wait. Wait. Wait some more. Track the ball. So when that ball's on its downward flight, I am literally tracking the ball into the glove. I'm first watching the players, because the players are, guess where the players are running? To the ball. All right, now I'm going to pick up the ball, and I am watching the ball into the glove. On that throw from the outfield on the tag play, I am watching that ball, the last half distance, to the glove. And then signal out and state, that's a catch. All right, a lot of times umpires, I see it all the time, right as that ball enters the glove. That's a catch. You do that 95 times, awesome. There are going to be 5 times. That's a catch. Nothing. Wait, because it is not a catch until release, or not a catch until against the wall. Now I come control. Now I have control. I'm controlling my body. All right, so these last plays here, it's more about timing than anything else. You guys make the call on these upcoming plays. Force play slide rule. When in doubt, keep the player safe. Runner interference and obstruction. Whoever's at fault has to disappear. Illegal bat, out. Ejection when necessary. Batter interference either has to be intentional in baseball. Intent is not important in softball. All right. And if it impedes and hinders the catcher from making a play, out. Collision plays. All right. We need the catcher's get away from home plate, but it's the runner's responsibility to attempt to avoid contact. Attempt to avoid contact. And catch plays is timing. It is nothing until you call it something. The last thing before we get out of here, if you have not done this QR code to register, has everybody finished the QR code registration here? He has? Okay, good. All right, so I'm not worried about that. Ump app. If you are using Ump app, if you've got Ump app, is anyone having issues that because they can't log into Ump app? Okay, did you guys get a welcome email? All right, what's going on if you are not able to log in? You're not going to the PSOA website. You're probably going to umpapp.com. Oh, that doesn't blow up that screen. To get to the PSOA Ump app, you got to have this URL. So if you're having issues, contact myself. I will send you this link directly. All right, but if you go to umpapp.com, you are not going to be able to log in. It has to be this PSOA one because that's the account you're on. So if you Google PSOA Ump app, you will not get this URL. You will not find it. Tom?
Back to the stay at home. Children's been doing especially at the younger ages, most catchers right away. They want to camp out at home. All still have to. At what point, based on that video, can a catcher lock the plate?
The only time a catcher could block the plate is if they have clear possession, secure possession of the ball. They have to have secure possession of the ball. They have to have it. Otherwise, as an umpire, I'm telling the catcher, get away, get away, get away. I am talking to that catcher. If they start up illegal, I'm telling them, get away from the plate. I don't put my hands on them, although times I want to. But I'm talking to them. Get out, get away, get away. And then the last thing, we do have some certified umpires. If you took the certified umpire course, please stand up. All right, this is very important to understand. All right, so these umpires in this room, all right, they are here with you as peers to learn the rules. They are out there on the fields. When they're out there on the fields, they have been trained to help you become better managers of the game. All right, so you want to introduce yourself really quick? David Landon. Don Hand. Dave Tiffany. Derek Litchie. Steve Wilkie. Zach Stooge. So if you have them as a partner, it is our expectation as a certified umpire to give you feedback to become a better umpire. So thank you guys for becoming certified umpires, and we're really looking forward to having the program work this year. So if you want to be a certified umpire, part of the leadership team, our next one is tomorrow, and you can still register. We have 3 spots open. All right, it's 3 spots open tomorrow, and then the first Monday in March is our next one. Okay? With that being said, those of you on YouTube, thank you for taking time out with PSOA. See you next Sunday. Those of you in the room, not next Sunday, February 18th. Woo, I will not be here next Sunday. Super Bowl's going on. February 18th in this room. Thank you for coming out tonight, guys.